The Dallas Cowboys will play their biggest game of the season in Week 14. We'll tell you how they're going to get the W next.
You are Locked On Cowboys, your daily Dallas Cowboys podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Cowboys podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We'd like to thank you for making us the #1 sports podcast network. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Welcome back. I am your host, Marcus Mosher. He is Landon McCool. And on today's show, we are previewing the Cowboys-Lions game on Thursday Night Football. We're going to talk about how the Cowboys can stop Jahmyr Gibbs. We'll give our predictions. We'll talk about this Cowboys offense. But before we do that, Landon, I got to say, we've been doing a lot of podcasts together. You know that I generally don't get my hopes up with this team. Starting to feel it, buddy. Like it just.
Oh, wow.
It's one of these games where I feel like they can compete. I feel like they can win. And if you win this one, I don't know how the rest of the NFC playoff picture is going to shake out, but it'll feel like something special is happening here, which means they'll probably get blown out by 30 and our hopes will be all crushed.
Listen, I'm obviously a pretty famous hope merchant around here for sure. But I'll just say this. It's always going to be the same until it isn't. Until the day that it isn't. So, this could be the year that it isn't. Who knows? But yes, I think we don't need to take several steps ahead to be excited about what's going on. I think if we just look at the game that's in front of us, this is probably the most difficult of the remaining games that the Cowboys have.
This is the hardest game the rest of the way, I think, by far.
I think also if you just kind of contextualize it in the last couple of years, like the kind of monumental battles these two teams have had, one going the Cowboys' way early on, and then obviously being absolutely crushed like a bug underneath a boot on last season when they just dropped 40 points on you. I think that there's a lot of kind of things surrounding this game that, just between these two teams in the last few years, you add in the context of the playoff implications and just the way that this team has kind of turned things around for this season. And for Detroit, it feels like it's going the opposite direction, right? Like they have all these injury issues, and obviously we'll talk about that, but it's kind of turned their season sour. They had a tough loss on Thursday, which is kind of the opposite situation for the Cowboys. So, it does feel like you could go into Detroit and steal a game that maybe early in the season felt like it would be impossible for the Cowboys to win. Now I feel like you look at all the kind of key elements, and again, we'll talk about it. I think the Cowboys maybe should be favorites to win this game.
Yeah, they're not right now on FanDuel.
No.
They are 3-point underdogs. But let's talk about the Cowboys offense, because this has been a unit that's been their bread and butter all season long. They scored 31 points against the Chiefs last Thursday. They put up 24 against Philadelphia. You look at this Detroit defense, it's not the unit that it was a year ago. They've had a bunch of injuries, and I'll go through a couple of them right now. Terrion Arnold, their best corner, he's not going to be playing in this game. He actually just had shoulder surgery, so he's out for the year. Kirby Joseph, he's not going to play in this game. He just got back to practice. He had a DNP on Tuesday. Seems like they're going to hold him out. Their defensive line, they've had a bunch of injuries there. Aidan Hutchinson still playing at a really high level, but this is a team that plays a ton of man coverage. And without Terrion Arnold, their outside corners are Amik Robertson, Rock Ya-Sin, DJ Reed, who can play in the slot and on the outside. This is a major advantage for the Cowboys offense.
Yeah, and DJ Reed himself also just coming back from an injury, I think maybe 2 weeks ago. Like, I think last week may have been his first week back, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So, again, like a beat-up secondary. You mentioned it, a man coverage team that has lost, one of their main man cover guys. And then you add in the injury to Joseph. He's not going to be out there. So, yeah, a beat-up group that relies heavily on being able to bully wide receivers at the line of scrimmage. They don't quite have the same bullies that they had last year. So it's going to be interesting to see how they play it.
And that's what I wanted to mention. Amik Robertson, who I mean, I know well from covering the Raiders. He is maybe 5'8". He's 180 pounds. DJ Reed is another 5'9", barely 180-pound corner. Those are their two starters. Their biggest corner is Rock Ya-Sin, who's been in the league for a while now. He's 6'1", 195. And that's where you would think with CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, like, yeah, these guys are aggressive and they're physical, but there's a massive size advantage here.
Yeah, no matter whether, I mean, look, they can, I imagine they might think about doing something like Rock Ya-Sin and Branch will double team Pickens, right? And then they'll do some combination stuff. But at some point, I mean, no matter what, you're gonna get a DJ Reed or a Robertson on CeeDee Lamb on George Pickens. And not only the size advantage, but the athleticism advantage is going to be pretty serious. So it certainly is a path to victory for the Cowboys to find a way to throw the ball if they can block things up.
And that's going to be the key in this one, because they have Aidan Hutchinson, who played really well the last time they played him. And outside of that, it's just a bunch of guys. Now, they do have Tyleik Williams, who was a first-round pick. He's more of a run stopper. They've got some other guys that you might recognize their names, including Derek Barnes, Muhammad, who was on the Cowboys a couple of years ago. This feels like to me a game where you're chipping Aidan Hutchinson on almost every snap. You're putting two guys on him. You're sending out Tyler Smith, to block him on the edge, like what we've seen before, where he kind of peels around. If you block Aidan Hutchinson, this Lions team has a hard time rushing the passer with 4.
Yeah, and even Aidan himself is not quite had the last few weeks that he had earlier in the season. I think he's had something like 3 sacks in the last 5 games or something like that. So, and I think it's because that he's getting a lot of attention now, right? I do think that obviously he's an incredible, top 3 defensive end in the league type player. But he's only one person, and there isn't a lot of other help for him along that line. I think McNeil is back, but I don't think he's not quite the same player as he was last year. I think he's still beat up from his injury, and they're not getting elite production from Davenport on the opposite side. So it's not hard to kind of to get some attention his way and block it up. And then again, like you mentioned, they play so much man coverage on the back end. They lose their top man cover guy. It's just, you're chipping away at those edges that they have on defense. And you're kind of taking away a lot of what made that defense special at certain points this year and last year.
One of the things I'm going to be interested in seeing is that Green Bay had almost no success running on early downs against the Lions on Thanksgiving. Can the Cowboys do it? I mean, Javonte Williams has been incredible this year. Their offensive line's a lot healthier than what Green Bay was. So if you can run the ball on early downs and get yourself into favorable down and distances where it's 2nd and 5, 2nd and 4, and now you can use the play action. You don't have to be in these obvious passing situations. The Cowboys' run game is going to be massive if they want to win this game.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I mean, they've got DJ Reader, who's one of my favorite draft prospects of all time. They've got Williams, like we've talked about, a big guy from Ohio State, the rookie. They've got bodies inside, and we've already mentioned McNeil, right? Mm-hmm. Stopping the run is something that these guys can do. Jack Campbell and Anzalone are 2 incredible linebackers at coming downhill and stopping the run as well. So they certainly have the horses to do it. The Cowboys need to be able to run the football. Right. They need to be able to stay balanced. But I think this very much opens up the opportunity for you to open up the run game by throwing the football. Get out there and throw the football on early downs, loosen things up a little bit, and maybe score some points, right? And then at that point, once you've gotten that going, you've gotten those safeties pushed back a little bit. Maybe you get a little bit better opportunity to run the football and kind of balance things out a little bit and try to run some clock down, because I think it's going to be important to not only score points but to control the clock as well.
This is not the most talented Detroit defense that we've seen over the last couple of years, but they are very aggressive in a good way. Like, they play hard, they rally to the football. We shouldn't expect anything less from a Dan Campbell team. But I think the way that you beat them is by blocking it up and maybe doing more 7-man protections and letting Pickens and CeeDee try to make plays down the field. It's a lot like Kansas City, where they're pretty good. Everybody's a pretty good tackler. They're going to try to keep everything in front of you. But if you can beat them over the top, that's how you create explosive plays. That's how you can win this game.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're going to win this game by throwing the football because
Yeah.
you have so strong advantages there. But you still need to find a way to get into situations where you can run the football as well. And again, I think this is an opportunity where attack them through the air, loosen things up, and then just control the clock after you get some points. Try to play a little bit of keep away from the Detroit offense.
I have no doubt that the Cowboys offense is going to score points, but will their defense get enough stops to win? We'll get to that next. This episode is brought to you by Aura Frames. The holidays are officially here, which means gift hunting season is on. And if you want something meaningful, personal, and guaranteed to get a reaction, Aura Frames is the gift that delivers every single time. It's not just something that you wrap, it's a way to share memories. Because Aura isn't your average picture frame, you can preload the frame with photos before you even gift it. So when they plug it in, the memories are already there. No apps to figure out, no setup headaches, just instant smiles. I got one from my mom. She absolutely loves it. She's able to see pictures of her grandkids all day long. So effortless to upload the pictures. You can also do 30-second videos. It's so nice, and it's the perfect gift for the holidays. And for a limited time, save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling carver mat frames, named #1 by Wirecutter, by using promo code LOCKEDON at checkout. That is auraframes.com, promo code LOCKEDON. This deal is exclusive to Locked On listeners, and the frames sell out incredibly fast. So order yours today so it's in for the holidays. And make sure you support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. Welcome back to the Locked On Cowboys podcast. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We'd also like to thank you for making us the #1 podcast network. Let's talk about this Lions offense, because as of this recording, it doesn't seem like Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to play. He suffered an ankle injury against Green Bay. He did not practice on Monday, did not practice on Tuesday. It feels like even if he plays, he's going to be more of a decoy or just a possession receiver. We know Sam LaPorta is out with a back injury.
Yeah.
How do the Cowboys slow down what's left of this Lions offense?
I know this is going to be crazy to say, and trust me, when I saw the numbers, I thought it was insane as well. You're going to play a lot of cover 3. And you're going to have a lot of success against this team. It's nuts. If you look at, if you split up and look at the success rates and EPA, it's you do it by coverage type, and you look at the success that they have in cover 3, which again is obviously the most prevalent coverage in all of football, but specifically what the Cowboys were playing to a disgusting degree early in the season, with very poor success. But Detroit itself has not had a lot of success, which is very interesting, right? If you play cover 3, Detroit has their lowest success rate. They have their lowest EPA per dropback. They have their lowest EPA per snap, and they're 2 yards per carry lighter before contact in the run game. So, which that part makes sense, right? You've got an extra guy down in the box. You're applying more to the run game. But the fact that they are also not able to throw very well the football against cover 3. Now, you also add in the fact that they have no Sam LaPorta, that we talked about St. Brown potentially not playing in this game. They're also down their second tight end, if I'm not mistaken.
Brock Wright, he has actually a throat injury, which is very rare. Doesn't seem like he's going to play. Yep.
Yeah. So they are running out of a lot of great options for beating cover 3. Right. And so I think the game plan for the Cowboys is very simple. I think at this point, it's just about executing it. You're going to play a lot of zone coverage in the back end. You're not going to need to blitz. You don't want to blitz Goff necessarily. He's good against the blitz, maybe even more successful than not, right? One of those rare quarterbacks like Dak that is very much going to punish the blitz. Right?
And part of it is they throw so many screens that's the way to beat the blitz. And they've got guys, even in this game, with Jahmyr Gibbs and Jameson Williams, that are really good in the screen game. You want to try to just pressure with your front four and then just rally to the football.
which again, plays right into what the Cowboys have, right? Because the truth of the matter is they've got two very good offensive tackles on the outside, but where they're really struggling right now, especially with the grand opening, grand closing nature of Ragnarok's announcement, they're really struggling in the middle interior. Glasgow has not been what they needed at center the way they thought he was going to be.
He's
And the
banged
Cowboys,
up as well.
and he's banged up as well. We don't even know. I think he is going to play, but we don't know, right? And even if he does, even when he was healthy, he wasn't playing well. Considering that what the Cowboys have a defensive tackle right now, we've obviously all been talking about that. I think the Cowboys are going to be able to play a very straightforward game plan, and as long as they can execute, and they should be able to limit hopefully the big plays in the passing game. Now the question is, can you limit the explosives in the run game? And I think that will be kind of one of the major deciding factors of this game.
This is a big linebacker game. Like if Kenneth Murray and Logan Wilson struggle, honestly, I don't know if this could be a Logan Wilson game. Like he's just, you get him matched up in space against Jahmyr Gibbs and you've got no chance. I honestly wonder, Landon, like maybe their best bet in this game is just to play Shamar James and DeMarvion Overshown. And, we've had our criticism of James where a lot of his tackles are coming 7, 8, 9 yards down the field. But I'm worried about those guys even being able to get sideline to sideline. So maybe you put your best athletes on the field, let them, just kind of run to the football. This is very much a first down game to me. Like if the Cowboys can win on first down and get Detroit to 2nd and 9 and 3rd and 8, they're going to be just fine because Jared Goff has not been a quarterback that has succeeded throwing the ball down the field on those downs, but you cannot give up 7, 8, 9 yards on first down consistently if you want to stop this offense. And one more thing, this is Detroit season. Like, even more so than Dallas. Like if you lose this game because they've got a much harder schedule, you lose this game, it's probably over for the Lions. They play the Rams next week, and then I think it's the Steelers the week after that. The Bears, I believe, in week 18. Like this is it. So to me, I think this is going to be one of those games where he almost said Ben Johnson, where Dan Campbell empties the kitchen sink. I expect multiple trick plays in this one.
Yeah, I mean, look, especially if they're going to be down St. Brown, they're going to be, the compromise.
Going to have to generate offense.
They have to find a way to generate offense, and it can't just be through the run game because, like I said, Cowboys could just run a 5-man front. They take away a lot of, the kind of clean reads for their duo blocks and for, some of the zone read stuff. And they can work it out, but it's going to make it, it's like playing left-handed to a certain degree. Yeah. And then you take away their explosive plays. It's like, what do they have on offense to generate big plays, right? They are going to have to find a way to get their running backs loose like they have, previously in the season. And then, like you said, without the kind of offensive weaponry on the outside, because that's the other thing. Like it's not even just that they're missing St. Brown, they're missing Robertson or the Khalif. What's his name? Robertson on the outside.
Khalif
Raymond. I'm sorry, Khalif Raymond.
Who's really like their third receiver, who does a lot of. He's like their version of Cavante Turpin on offense.
What's going to be interesting is to see how they deal with Jameson Williams, like how they actually deploy him. Because if it was Ben Johnson, I think he would know better than to try to just put him into the St. Brown spot and then hope it works, because he can't do that because he's not efficient like that. But I'm wondering if Dan Campbell does do that, like just because he's got to find a way to get playmakers the ball in their hands.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's Gibbs. I wouldn't be surprised if it's Gibbs that's playing more out of the slot, just to try to get him with the ball, over the middle of the field, matched up against linebackers.
It's a precision spot, though. It's hard to. I mean, you got to run difficult routes, especially against zone coverage in the middle of the field. It's not exactly an easy run for a running back to do, even for Gibbs.
And we should mention, even when this Lions team has been healthier on offense, when they had Sam LaPorta, when they had Amon-Ra St. Brown, it hasn't quite been the same as it's been in previous years. Now, Dan Campbell's going to continue to be aggressive, and that's one of the things that's going to be really important here, where on 3rd and 8, don't give up 7 yards, because it's automatically means they're going for it on 4th down. You almost have to play 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9 like it's 3rd and 4 to try to get them out of these situations so they punt the ball. I'm fascinated by this game. I still think Detroit's going to score a bunch of points, but I'm hoping it's like it was last week against Kansas City, where you have 4 stops in a row or 2 quarters in a row where you don't score. And that's the difference in these games where, the Cowboys are able to score 2 touchdowns and swing a game when Detroit has 3 or 4 possessions that don't go their way.
I think both of these offenses are going to have the ability to be explosive in this game. I think the difference is that Dallas can do it without being extremely risky. Whereas I think Detroit's going to have to take a lot of risks, and some of these matchups are going to be problematic for the Lions as the game goes on.
All right, let's make predictions for this awesome Thursday night matchup between the Dallas Cowboys and the Detroit Lions. We'll get to that next. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's why live betting with FanDuel is so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. And with FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. And live betting is the best when the game starts to shift. You guys know this. When a receiver starts to get hot, like George Pickens, or when a defense gets multiple stops in a row, or when that momentum flips after a turnover, FanDuel lets you jump into the moment with live spreads and money lines that adjust instantly, player props that update as guys heat up, and you can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It just keeps you locked in to every single snap, every drive, and every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this football season, visit FanDuel.com and place your live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. Welcome back to the Locked On Cowboys podcast. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. For your second listen, check out the Locked On NFL podcast. 2 shows every single day. 1 in the morning with Tyler Rowland, 1 in the afternoon with Tony Wiggins, available wherever you get your podcasts. All right, biggest game of the season for the Cowboys, week 14 at Detroit. They are 3-point underdogs in a game that has a point total of 53.5 right now on FanDuel. Who do you think wins?
I think the Cowboys are going to win this game. I mean, I don't know that I felt that way beginning of the week, right? Because I would definitely remember, looking at scenarios like, okay, what do they still have to do if they lose this game? Is it still possible? And it's obviously extremely dicey if the Cowboys lose this game. It's just, you got to start stacking NFC wins at a certain point if you want to even be considered in some of the tiebreakers. And otherwise, you got to hope for a complete Eagles collapse. But as I started to dig into the numbers a little bit, I went and watched that Green Bay game. I just think that there are advantages that the Cowboys are going to be able to press on Detroit that I don't know that Detroit's going to be able to press the same buttons effectively. And I think that the key is like kind of how we ended the last segment, right? Where I do think that Detroit can be as explosive and score the points that they need to keep up with the Cowboys. But I don't know that they can do it without being extremely risky and putting the football at risk, because eventually they're going to need to try to find a way to create explosives in the pass game. And right now, the interior of their offensive line and the wide receivers they have aren't exactly conducive to having to throw the football to score points in a lot of ways for Jared Goff, especially the way he plays. So I'm picking the Cowboys to win. I think probably 28-24. It really, there's so many different ways this game could go. And it all kind of starts, I think, like you said, how the Cowboys handle the Detroit run game. If they can shut it down early and cause problems, man, this game could go to sleep very quickly. If Detroit gets huge chunks, then in the run game, and then it opens up things for the play action game, it could be a really long day for Dallas as well.
It's just a fascinating game. So this is the Lions' 3rd straight home game. But they've had some interesting games in the last month. So they had that game in Philly where they scored 9 points. They lost 16-9. Then they played against the Giants, a game that went to overtime when Jameis Winston was was the quarterback. And honestly, Giants probably should have won that game. And then they had the game last week against Green Bay. I wonder what kind of juice this Lions team is going to have after that 4-game stretch where I know the Cowboys have played a lot of games in a short amount of time. So have Detroit, but they did have a bye more recently. So maybe they're going to be a little bit fresher in this game. They also are a lot healthier going into this one.
Yeah.
This is a and you know how this is. There's a lot of these games that are first quarter games. Like you can just tell within the first quarter how it's going to go. And honestly, I thought last week, it started out really bad for the Cowboys, but they were able to settle things down
Yeah.
pretty good by the end of the first quarter, where
Yeah.
you felt like, okay, everything went wrong for the Cowboys, and yet they're still in this game. I think if the Cowboys can survive the first quarter, and whether it's a one score game or they have a lead or it's tied, I think they're going to be okay. I'll pick the Lions just because, wink, wink, because I always pick the Lions, or I
I'm
always
glad
pick
that you
the
did.
opponents.
Thank you for doing that.
But I do think this one's going to be very, very high scoring.
I think one more thing I just want to add in here before we go to is that I don't think that everyone forgot about what happened last year when Detroit came in here and ran up the score and was definitely trying to rub it in Dallas's face. Like, Dallas doesn't get viewed as a team that goes on revenge. Dallas is usually viewed as the team that is revenged upon. But I guarantee you that there are some people in that locker room that are dogs, and they do not like the way things went down last year. And the opportunity to put Detroit out of the playoffs at home in Detroit, I think that's a nice opportunity for them.
Should be fun. And again, the Cowboys have very favorable matchups on both sides of the ball. I think if the Lions were healthy, it would be a different story. But the Cowboys wide receivers against this Lions secondary and the Cowboys defensive tackles against this beat up Lions offensive line should be enough to at least keep this game close, if not win it. One last thing. If the Cowboys, right now, the Cowboys have a 23% chance of making the playoffs, according to The Athletic. They lose, that number drops down to 9%. But if they win, Landon, back up to 41%, which is quite the number. So we'll see. That is it for today's show. We want to thank you for making Locked On Cowboys your first listen every single day. Download the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We are free and available on all platforms. Follow Landon on Twitter at McCoolBCB. I'm at Marcus _Mosher, and we'll see you right back here on Thursday.